Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor. Really grateful to have you here. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing part 2 of my full collection review. So I did a part 1 already. I'm going to be doing this in 10 fragrance segments, just to kind of keep the video short. And I don't know if my phone can even sustain like an hour, 2 hour long video with the amount of memory I have. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into the second part of this series. I'm trying to do this as close to chronologically in order as I can, and picking up where I left off, the next fragrance I got was John Varvatos Artisan Pure. So I think the majority of the fragrances in this video have been recommended to me by Jeremy Fragrance. I was still kind of new in my journey and I was mostly watching his recommendations. So I believe this was something that he recommended in the onset of summertime. I think I was probably watching for top summer picks, and this one did not disappoint. Still one of my favorite summertime fragrances to date. Really kind of smells the way that you would imagine the packaging looks. Just a very nice, warm, hot summer day. White floral, which is kind of unique for a men's fragrance, is the dominant kind of scent accord you get here. The citruses are incredible. Kind of a little bit of like a green tinge running through it. Not really an aquatic fragrance at all. Like I said, it's more of like a white floral. Just performance isn't the greatest, but I find this is a little bit better performing than some of the other John Varvatos fragrances, and pretty on par with freshies. But overall, definitely worth getting your nose on. I think this is still affordable. You can usually find it for like under $40, and yeah, just really grateful that Jeremy did recommend this one to me. Anyway, this was pretty hyped in the community, and Jeremy said it was his favorite wintertime designer, and I think that's still the case, and that is Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. So I do like this fragrance, but I do think it's a little bit sweet for my tastes. I've grown to find that I think Bulgari Man in Black is my preference for this style of scent DNA. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of Bazooka bubblegum, but nonetheless still a really beautiful kind of tobacco cinnamon fragrance. I just think it's a little bit youthful for me personally, but I think the scent profile is really nice nonetheless. Definitely worth at least sampling, especially if you're a little bit younger. One of the it definitely cuts through the cold really well. It's got like a really nice potency to it. Definitely the bomb grenade sort of packaging kind of sells the fact that it's definitely a spice bomb. Cinnamon, I think, is going to be one of the other main players in here. But yeah, definitely, really glad that I did get it. I did get quite a few wears out of it. I think the juice level is about half gone. I don't know if you can see it on there. But as I delved further into my fragrance journey, I just started inclining a little bit more towards Bulgari's Man in Black when I go to reach for the scent DNA. But I think this was my 12th fragrance in my collection, Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. So the next one I picked up was Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. Tonka bean, mint, a little bit of some herbal notes, and orange citrus off at the top. Definitely, I think, a really versatile fragrance. You can wear this any time of the year. It's got the sweetness from the tonka bean and an added creaminess. The citrus and the mint really make it applicable in the warmer weather as well, and I think this is one of my top picks for a rainy day, all things considered also. A little bit basic, but I think it's maybe only basic because of its popularity. Otherwise, this is 10 out of 10, execution. The blending is incredible. The quality is, Chanel is never poor quality, at least anything that I've picked up off of them yet. Still wearing this one to this day. Actually was my scent of the day, I think, Wednesday this week. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Probably a good beginner fragrance. Like I said, really versatile, and compliment getting Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. Next up, Terrier Mez Eau de Toilette. One of my favorite September fragrances. Just matches perfectly with the weather, where it's kind of transitioning out of summer into the autumn. So it works very well in high heat, but also there's like some powdery woodiness from like the benzoin and the cedar kind of coming together that makes this really great for a slight chill in the air, and the overall scent profile matches the autumn leaves incredibly well. I didn't really like this fragrance at first, and the juice level is a little bit misleading because I was using it as a bug spray for a while when I didn't really care for it, but A little bit sad that I wasted all that juice back then, because it's really grown on me to be one of my favorites in my collection. Real masterpiece and an iconic fragrance, Terrier Mez Eau de Toilette looks like my 14th fragrance that I picked up. Next one was Parfums de Marly. So I believe this was one of my first niche fragrances. Again, kind of like Spice Bomb Extreme, Jeremy recommended it, and I've kind of found it a little bit sweet for my tastes. I don't really reach for this one as much, especially anymore. You know, I started collecting when I was still in my 20s. Now that I'm in my 30s, this one doesn't really hit like it used to. I remember when I first smelled it, though, I thought this was, you know, kind of blew me away. I hadn't really gotten my nose on anything this kind of, I don't know, like the quality and the density and the loudness was all just really something that kind of took me aback for a moment. But like I said, nowadays it's just runs a little bit sweet and youthful for what my tastes have kind of gravitated towards. But still, you know, really popular fragrance, definitely a compliment puller. Has like an apple pie sort of scent profile to it. Definitely worth, you know, checking out. This might be something that you really love. I think this is really the only fragrance that I've smelled from Parfums de Marly to date. Overall, you know, from some of the people that my tastes kind of harmonize a little bit with more, they tend to say that the brand itself is a little bit overpriced. They're really more of like a designer house in niche price range. So maybe I'll give them more of a chance. I'm looking to get a bottle of Greenlee before the spring's over. Don't know if I'll have the funds to do that. I recently had a kind of an expensive haul where I got some vintage fragrance and a niche fragrance, and it kind of put a dent in my pocketbook. But this one was definitely an eye-opener and kind of an a horizon expander for what fragrances could smell like to me. So that was Parfums de Marly Leighton. And okay, another niche fragrance. Jeremy Fragrance was also talking about this one for a while. I think it had been recently discontinued at the time that I picked it up. I couldn't really find it at discounters. I had to get on eBay. I paid right around like a little over $200 for it at the time. I think it's still running for around that price though, which is kind of cool, that it hasn't gone up so much with inflation. But yeah, this one is incredible. Really glad that I got this one in my collection. I'm a little sad that I'm about halfway out and it's only a 50 ml bottle, but that is Fords Tobacco Oud. Surprisingly, it's been a compliment puller for me. It's something that I guess works on my skin because it is a little bit challenging and kind of, you know, a love it or hate it kind of fragrance, but generally when I've been wearing it, I've been well received with it. This one really kind of smells to me like if you've ever been at like a wedding or a school dance and they have those fog machines out on the dance floor. The smoke that comes out of those, or the fog that they have, this just smells like that smoke, like just like a really nice, sweet, smoky fragrance. And there's like a little bit of like a boozy quality in here, but it really doesn't smell like boozy per se, but it adds to the sweet quality of the smoke in here. Incredible stuff. Looking to kind of get a backup bottle of this, but again, like I said, my funds are kind of limited at the moment, but definitely worth checking this one out before stock completely dries up. That's Fords Tobacco Oud. Okay, so all of these were recommended to me from Jeremy Fragrance. This next one was actually a gift for my birthday from my wife. And it's become one of my favorite cheapies, and I still wear this a lot to this day. Looking to get a backup bottle of this version right here, and this is Dolce & Gabbana's Pour Homme, the newer version. So I did enjoy this fragrance. It's like a kind of a floral tobacco. Really great office fragrance, something I reach for a lot on rainy days. So yeah, like lavender and then a floral tobacco is kind of like the main vibe you get here. Like juice level isn't lying on this one. I never use this one for bug spray. Only a 75 ml, but I've really only got maybe about like 10 mLs left, it looks like. Yeah, really great signature scent, affordable signature scent, I would say, even though this compared to the vintage formulations is disheartening. Since I hadn't smelled the vintage when I first got this, I still think this is a great grab. And I'm still going to be wearing this one, even though I recently picked up the original 1994 version. Just because, yeah, you know, this is like a nice, cheap, kind of easy grab fragrance. Really grateful to my wife for picking this one up for me. It's become a favorite of mine, especially in the springtime. Then, so the next fragrance was also Jeremy fragrance recommendation, and that was Molecule 01. So I'm about halfway out of this one. If you're not familiar with this fragrance, it was released by Gaze is Showin'. He's, I think, you know, definitely took an interesting take on isolating aroma chemicals and selling them in bottles. So I think I picked this up for maybe like $100. I think I bought it from Molecule 01's website because I wasn't that familiar with discounters at the time. But essentially what this is a aroma chemical called ISO-E Super, which is kind of like something that imitates the smell of cedar. So you just get like a really nice, sometimes a little bit powdery, woody cedar vibe off of this one. Surprisingly a big compliment puller, but since it is just like an isolate of ISO-E Super, you can find ISO-E Super on eBay and Amazon for like $30, so there's really no sense in buying this unless you want the nice bottle, because usually those cheaper versions come in these weird, almost like Montal looking, just hairspray looking bottles, like these aluminum can kind of sprayers. So I personally like this glass presentation, but I think from now on, if I'm going to be re-upping on ISO-E Super, I'm probably just going to get the little aluminum can bottles. But definitely worth, you know, looking into and researching this brand, the Molecule brand. And Gaze is Showin', he's actually a really great perfumer, and I've got a few other items. Actually, I think one other offering from him, from Aqua de Colonia, but still, like I said, worth checking out Gaze is Showin' and his brand, the Eccentric Molecules. And if you didn't know, also ISO-E Super helps the longevity of your fragrances. So if you layer this on skin and then put your weaker performing fragrances over the top of it, which is one of the reasons why I got this in the first place. So yeah, that was my last Jeremy recommendation on this video list. And then I have two more fragrances. This one is one I haven't really worn all that much, but it was one my wife got me for Christmas. My birthday's in November and Christmas is in December, so that's why these two were rather near one another on the chronological progression of my fragrance journey. This one I actually have, like I said, I haven't really worn that much. It's rather weak. It just kind of is a little bit basic smelling. Just smells like just fresh cologne. I don't know the exact notes in here. Maybe like vetiver, just because it's got a little bit of like a clean quality to it, and like a little bit of citrus, maybe bergamot. But yeah, just was a little bit basic and weak, so I haven't reached for it as much. Maybe we'll try to bust it out a little bit more this spring, just to honor the gift. But not going to spend too much time on this one just because I haven't spent too much time with it. But that was the next fragrance I got in my fragrance journey. And then finally, this last fragrance got recommended to me from Facebook. So Facebook was running some sponsored ads, and this was for the House of Imaginary Authors. And the first one that I got from the house was this, Whispered Myths. So I looked through their catalog and was just kind of reading through what they had to offer. And this one looked interesting. I had the Tobacco Oud fragrance, and I really like that, and this one features the note of oud, and then it also featured a unique note of cantaloupe, so kind of like a melony oud fragrance. I believe I was getting, you know, sometime just coming out of the winter, maybe getting close to spring, and this one, you know, just seemed kind of interesting for that time of the year as the weather was breaking, getting warm again. This is a kind of challenging fragrance. It's love it or hate it. I've actually gotten compliments on it, and then the same person that's given me a compliment said that it smelled bad depending on the weather conditions. So kind of a hard fragrance to pull off, but I actually rather enjoy this one. It's got salvage shipwreck as the imaginary note in here, so it's got definitely this like old wood kind of feel to it. Like an old dusty wooden structure with the unique cantaloupe as like the bright citrusy part in it, even though it's not really like citrus per se. But then the oud is definitely a little bit more on the barnyard side of things, so You just have to really find the right situation for this. I think autumn and like a sunny winter day work really great with this. Glad that I have this, even though I don't reach for it as often, because like I said, it is a little bit challenging. But that was where I kind of left off on my fragrance journey. Facebook was recommended me the House of Imaginary Authors, and that was kind of where I started venturing out and exploring things beyond just the YouTube recommendations from content creators. So that was my part 2 installment of this series of my entire collection. I'm looking forward to posting more of these. Maybe about once a week is like what I'm shooting for, 10 fragrances per video. They do run a little bit longer than my normal videos, but I appreciate you sticking with me to the end of this one if you did, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.